Welcome back to the Beginner's Guide to Fracture Mechanics. In this video, we introduce linear elastic fracture mechanics, or LEFM, which forms the mathematical backbone of modern fracture analysis. In the previous video, we developed an energy-based intuition for why cracks drive failure. Now, we take the next step and quantify crack severity using crack tip, stress fields, and the stress intensity factor, K. By the end of this lecture, you should understand how LEFM connects load, crack size, and geometry into a single predictive parameter. Here is our roadmap for this lecture. We will begin by defining what LEFM is and the key assumptions behind it, especially the important concept of small-scale yielding. Next, we will examine the crack tip stress field and the mathematical singularity that emerges from linear elasticity. We will then introduce the stress intensity factor, K, and the three basic modes of crack loading. Finally, we will connect the energy approach from the previous video to LEFM and discuss how plasticity near the crack tip affects the validity of the theory. Let's begin with the central idea of linear elastic fracture mechanics. LEFM assumes that linear elasticity applies everywhere in the component except in a very small region near the crack tip. Within that small region, some plastic deformation may occur, but it is confined and does not dominate the overall response. Under these conditions, fracture behavior is governed primarily by the crack tip stress field rather than the nominal applied stress. The key concept to remember here is the small-scale yielding assumption. As long as plasticity remains highly localized, LEFM provides accurate and powerful predictions. Based on this framework, LEFM relies on several important assumptions. First, the material is treated as linear elastic over most of the domain. Second, the plastic zone must be much smaller than the crack length and the specimen dimensions. This is essential for maintaining the validity of the crack tip solution. Third, time-dependent effects such as creep or viscoelasticity are neglected. The critical takeaway is this: LEFM is valid only when plasticity is highly localized near the crack tip. When plastic deformation becomes large-scale, more advanced fracture models are required. One of the most remarkable results of LEFM is the universal form of the crack tip stress field. Near the crack tip, the stress components follow an asymptotic relationship that varies with the inverse square root of the distance from the tip. In this expression, sigma ij represents the local stress components, while r and theta are polar coordinates measured from the crack tip. The parameter k is the stress intensity factor, which controls the amplitude of the entire near-tip stress field. The angular function f, I, j, theta describes how the stress varies with direction around the crack tip. A key implication of this solution is that, mathematically, the stress approaches infinity as the distance to the crack tip approaches zero. At first glance, the stress singularity predicted by LEFM may seem unphysical. After all, real materials cannot sustain infinite stress. In reality, materials yield, blunt, or otherwise deform near the crack tip before any true infinity is reached. The singularity is therefore a mathematical artifact of linear elasticity. However, the singular solution is still extremely valuable. It correctly identifies the region that controls fracture and provides a quantitative measure of crack severity. As the slide notes, the infinity itself is not real, but the physics it signals is very real. This insight sets the stage for introducing the stress intensity factor, which we will discuss next. To make the crack tip solution practically useful, we introduce the stress intensity factor, denoted as K. The stress intensity factor quantifies the amplitude of the crack tip stress field. In other words, while the functional form of the near-tip field is universal, K tells us how severe the crack loading actually is. For many geometries, K can be expressed as the product of the applied stress, the square root of crack size, and a dimensionless geometry factor. The key message is this: different combinations of load, crack length, and the geometry can produce the same K and therefore the same crack tip severity. This is what makes LEFM so powerful for engineering predictions. Cracks can be loaded in three fundamental modes. Mode 1 is the opening mode, where the crack faces separate perpendicular to the crack plane. This is the most common and most studied case. Mode 2 is the sliding mode, involving in-plane shear that causes the crack faces to slide relative to each other. Mode 3 is the tearing mode, which corresponds to out-of-plane shear. Each loading mode has its own stress intensity factor, K1, K2, and K3. In many real structures, cracks experience mixed mode loading, but mode 1 typically dominates brittle fracture. You may recall from the previous lecture that we used an energy balance perspective to understand fracture. LEFM provides a direct bridge between the energy approach and the stress field approach. Specifically, the energy release rate, G, is proportional to the square of the stress intensity factor. This relationship shows that the two viewpoints are fully consistent. One describes how energy flows during crack growth, while the other characterizes the local stress field driving that growth. When the stress intensity factor reaches a critical value known as the fracture toughness, unstable crack propagation occurs. This criterion forms the foundation of fracture-based design. Although LEFM predicts a mathematical stress singularity at the crack tip, real materials do not sustain infinite stress. When the crack tip stress exceeds the material's yield strength, plastic deformation begins to occur in a small region surrounding the tip. This region is called the plastic zone. The size of this zone depends primarily on two factors: the applied stress intensity factor, K, and the material's yield strength, sigma y. Physically, a higher stress intensity factor means a more severe crack tip stress field, which tends to enlarge the plastic zone. Conversely, a higher yield strength makes it harder for the material to deform plastically, resulting in a smaller plastic zone. As long as this plastic zone remains small compared to the crack length and the overall component dimensions, the assumptions of LEFM remain reasonable. But once plastic deformation spreads significantly, linear elastic fracture mechanics is no longer sufficient. The first widely used quantitative estimate of the plastic zone size was developed by George Irwin in the 1950s, Irwin working at the US Naval Research Laboratory played a central role in transforming fracture mechanics from Griffith's energy concept into a practical engineering framework. One of his key contributions was relating the elastic crack tip stress field directly to yielding. By equating the elastic stress intensity solution to the material's yield strength, Irwin derived simple expressions for the plastic zone size. Under plane stress conditions, the plastic zone is larger. Under plane strain conditions, constraint suppresses plastic deformation, leading to a smaller plastic zone. Regardless of the constraint condition, the scaling trends are clear. A higher stress intensity factor produces a larger plastic zone. A higher yield strength produces a smaller plastic zone. These equations give engineers a practical way to check whether the small-scale yielding assumption and therefore LEFM is justified. Even when plasticity is small, the crack tip is no longer perfectly sharp. To account for this, Irwin proposed a simple and very practical correction. Instead of using the physical crack length, we use an effective crack length that includes the plastic zone size. Conceptually, we treat the plastic zone as a virtual extension of the crack. This captures crack tip blunting and the associated stress redistribution. The beauty of this approach is its pragmatism. We can improve prediction accuracy while still working within the LEFM framework. However, this correction only works when plastic deformation remains limited, the regime we call small-scale yielding. Let's summarize the key points from this lecture. First, fracture behavior is governed by the crack tip field, not by the nominal stress alone. Second, the stress intensity factor, K, provides a unified measure that combines load, crack size, and geometry. Third, plasticity does not immediately invalidate LEFM, but it does define the boundary of its applicability. Finally, plane strain typically provides the conservative design condition because plastic deformation is more constrained. The central message is this: K captures crack severity, while plasticity tells us whether LEFM can be trusted. Let's walk through a quick practice problem to reinforce the concept. You are given a material with a known crack length and yield strength. Your task is to calculate the stress intensity factor. Estimate the plastic zone size under plane stress using Irwin's model. Take a moment to pause the video and try the calculation yourself before looking at the solution. Let's begin the solution. Using the stress intensity factor equation, plug in values of crack length, geometric factor, and yield strength, you can obtain the values of K, which is 18.8 megapascals square root meter. Next, it is given that it is the plane stress condition. You can use Irwin's plane stress expression and estimate the plastic zone size to be 0.16 millimeters. Finally, since the plastic zone size is much smaller than the crack length, LEFM is appropriate. If not, elastic plastic fracture mechanics would be required, which is our next topic. Before we conclude, I would like to acknowledge the support that made this educational series possible. This work is supported by the NSF-DMR program and the ARPA-E Chadwick program. Thank you for watching. In the next video, we will move beyond LEFM and introduce elastic plastic fracture mechanics and J integral.